My parents think I should split my $20 million with my younger sister Rachel, the same sister who's never worked a day in her life and once told me I'd never amount to anything. She just found out how much I'm actually worth, and now my entire family thinks I owe her half, as if surviving their neglect wasn't enough payment already. Welcome to Raw Reddit Tales. Subscribe to keep getting the spiciest stories. It happened on Thanksgiving, the one day of the year my family pretends to like each other. The table was full, laughter, wine, and the kind of fake warmth you only see in movies. I was just showing my cousins pictures from my solo trip to Italy when Rachel snatched my laptop from me. She has this habit of crossing boundaries like it's a sport. While I was grabbing dessert, she clicked through my files, and within seconds, her sharp voice cut through the noise like a knife. "Sarah, what the hell is this?" Everyone went quiet. When I looked up, she had my investment spreadsheet open. The one with the total balance in bold, $20,483,921. My father's fork clattered to his plate. My mother blinked, frozen mid-smile. Rachel's eyes were wide with something between envy and outrage. "You've been hiding this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You've been sitting on $20 million while I can't even pay my rent?" My first instinct was to laugh it off, but there was no humor left in the room. The air changed. Sharp, electric, suffocating. "It's not something I hid," I said quietly. "It's just my personal business." That only made things worse. My mother gave me a look I hadn't seen since childhood, disappointment mixed with accusation. "Sarah, family should help each other," she said softly, but there was steel underneath. Rachel scoffed, crossing her arms. "Help each other? She's been living like a ghost while I've been struggling to survive. You think she deserves that kind of money more than me?" I could feel the years of resentment bleeding into every word. My father muttered something about fairness. My aunt whispered selfish, and I suddenly realized they didn't see me as family anymore. Just a bank account. Rachel wasn't done. She never is. She leaned across the table, eyes blazing with that same superiority she wore our entire childhood. "You think because you were the quiet one, you get to keep everything to yourself?" She spat. "You don't even need that kind of money. You don't have kids. You don't have responsibilities. I deserve it more." I could feel my jaw tighten. Deserve it? That word had been her shield for years. She used it every time she wanted something she hadn't earned. Attention, praise, forgiveness. And now, apparently, $20 million. My parents didn't even try to calm her down. My mother placed a hand on Rachel's shoulder like she was the victim here. "Sweetheart, your sister isn't trying to hurt you," she said softly, then turned to me. "But maybe you could help her out, at least pay off her debts." The room murmured in agreement, like they'd all been waiting for me to confess some hidden moral obligation. I took a deep breath and said, "No." Just that. One word, steady and final. The silence that followed was almost deafening. Rachel's mouth dropped open. My father's face turned red. My aunt gasped like I just cursed at church. "Excuse me?" Rachel snapped. "You're seriously keeping all that money to yourself? After everything this family did for you?" I almost laughed. Everything they did for me? They barely noticed I existed. When Rachel was sick as a child, they sent me to live with our grandparents for months. When she failed a grade, they threw her a party just for trying. When I got a full ride to an Ivy League school, they didn't even show up for graduation. I learned early that being healthy, smart, and independent didn't earn love in our house. It earned resentment. "Everything this family did for me?" I repeated, my voice shaking now, not from fear but fury. "I built that money from scratch, every cent. I worked 3 jobs through college. No one offered to help me then." My father slammed his palm on the table. "Enough, Sarah. You're embarrassing your family." Rachel smirked, as if she'd just won. "You heard Dad. You're selfish. Maybe it's time you learned how to share." I could feel my chest tighten as every eye in that dining room locked on me. For years, I'd swallowed their guilt trips, their comparisons, their emotional manipulation, but not this time. "You call it selfishness," I said slowly, my voice trembling but loud enough to cut through the silence. "But what you really mean is control. You've controlled this family dynamic for years, and now you can't stand that I don't need any of you anymore." My mother's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Rachel's smirk faltered for the first time. My father stood up, his voice low and dangerous. "You think money makes you better than us?" I looked up at him, tears stinging my eyes. "No, I think it's the only thing that finally makes me free." Rachel pushed her chair back, knocking it over in the process. "You're unbelievable," she said, pointing a shaking finger at me. "Do you even hear yourself? You've always been cold. Even as a kid, you think because you got good grades, you're the saint here? You never cared about anyone but yourself." I almost wanted to laugh. If only she knew how many nights I cried alone while they all doted on her. "You don't get to rewrite history," I said quietly. "You were everyone's favorite. You always have been." Her voice rose to a scream. "Because I was sick. Because I needed help." Her chest heaved, and suddenly, everyone was watching her with pity. The same pity that had built her throne since childhood. "And what did you need, huh?" she sneered. "A standing ovation every time you got an A?" That's when I snapped. "No, Rachel. I just needed a family." My voice cracked, and for a moment, no one moved. My mother looked away, my father clenched his jaw, and Rachel's expression softened. But only for a second. Then she laughed bitterly. "Wow, you really think you're the victim here? Maybe you should have stayed invisible. You were easier to love that way." The words hit harder than I expected. I stood up slowly, feeling the weight of years press on my shoulders. "You know what's funny?" I said. You all made me invisible, and now you hate me because I built something you can't ignore. Growing up, I used to think maybe I'd been adopted. That's how invisible I felt in that house. Everything revolved around Rachel. If she sneezed, the world stopped. If I got an award, no one noticed. I remember being 8 years old, holding up my perfect report card at the dinner table while Rachel was whining about her stomach ache. My mom took the paper, glanced at it for 2 seconds, then ran to comfort Rachel like I wasn't even there. That night, I sat at my room, eating dinner alone, while my parents took Rachel out for ice cream because she was feeling better. That was my childhood, always watching from the sidelines while Rachel got paraded like a fragile miracle. I was the healthy one, the strong one, the easy child, the one they didn't need to worry about. It sounds nice until you realize easy really meant unimportant. Birthdays forgotten, plays unattended, trophies collecting dust in boxes no one opened. If Rachel cried, everyone listened. If I cried, I was told to be grateful that I wasn't sick. Even at school, the comparisons followed me. Teachers would say, "You must be Rachel's sister. Your parents talk about her all the time." I learned to stop correcting them. I learned that being invisible was safer than being disappointed. By the time I turned 16, I'd stopped expecting anything. I saved my allowance, started tutoring, and told myself that one day, I'd earn something they couldn't take from me, something that made me matter. But the irony is, when I finally did, it didn't bring pride. It brought rage. My mother leaned back that Thanksgiving night, shaking her head like I'd betrayed her. "You've changed, Sarah. You used to be so humble, so good." I wanted to scream. "No, Mom. I used to be silent. I used to sit in corners and pretend it didn't hurt when you forgot me." Rachel chuckled. "Don't act like you had it so bad. You got everything easy." I stared at her, the sister who never worked a day in her life, who got bailed out of every mistake, who had no idea what loneliness felt like. "Easy?" I whispered. "You mean invisible. That's what I was, Rachel. The orphan that lived in her own parents' house." Rachel laughed like my words were some kind of performance. "Oh, come on, Sarah," she said, rolling her eyes. "You act like you were abandoned. You had everything you needed." My father nodded in agreement, his tone heavy with that same authority he'd used all my life to silence me. "We gave you food, a roof, education. What more did you want?" That question broke something inside me. What more did I want? I repeated, my voice rising. Maybe I wanted to be seen. Maybe I wanted a hug when I cried, not a reminder that I should be grateful for existing. "You treated Rachel's pain like a crown, and my strength like a punishment." The words poured out before I could stop them, my mother's eyes filled with tears. "You know, we had to give her more attention. She was sick." "Yes," I snapped. "But you never stopped treating her like she was fragile, even after she got better. You built her a world where she could never fail, Dad, and built me one where I could never matter." Rachel's voice was sharp now. "You think money makes you matter? You think $20 million fixes your childhood?" I leaned forward, meeting her eyes. "No, but it sure as hell proves I never needed any of you to survive." The room went cold. My uncle shifted uncomfortably. My aunt whispered something about family loyalty. My father shook his head. "That money should help the family. You wouldn't have gotten anywhere without our foundation." I laughed bitterly. "What foundation?" "I raised myself. You sent me to Grandma's every time Rachel needed a doctor. You forgot my 16th birthday. You didn't even know what college I went to until I sent you a graduation photo." Rachel slammed her palm on the table. "You think you're better than us." "I think I'm finally free from you," I said, standing up. "You all built this story where Rachel was the saint and I was the shadow. But guess what? Shadows grow longer when the light finally hits them." My father's voice thundered behind me. "If you walk out that door, don't come back." I turned, meeting his glare with a calm I didn't know I had. "You stopped being my home a long time ago." Then I picked up my coat and left them in their silence, the same silence they raised me in. The cold November air hit my face the second I stepped outside, but it felt cleaner than the air inside that house ever did. I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, heart pounding from everything I'd said, and everything I hadn't. For once, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen, even if it was only by myself. My phone buzzed relentlessly in my pocket. Missed calls, dozens of texts, most from Rachel. The first message read, "You're heartless." The second, "You owe me, Sarah. You wouldn't even have this life if it wasn't for me." That one made me laugh out loud, a hollow, tired laugh that echoed in the car. I drove home in silence, the city lights blurring through my windshield. That night, I didn't cry. I opened my laptop, changed all my passwords, moved half of my investments into a new account, and blocked every number that shared my last name. But the peace didn't last long. A week later, Rachel showed up at my apartment uninvited. She looked nothing like the furious woman from Thanksgiving. She looked desperate. "Sarah, please," she started, her voice trembling. "I just need help with some bills. I'll pay you back." I didn't invite her in. I stood in the doorway, looking at the same sister who once made me feel like I didn't belong in my own family. "Rachel," I said quietly, "I'm not giving you any money." Her eyes widened. "What?" "If you want money," I continued, "then you need to work for it. Just like I did. I didn't build this fortune to fix your mistakes. I built it to survive mine." She stared at me for a long time, like she couldn't process the idea of earning something. Then she scoffed, her face hardening. "You'll regret this," she said. I smiled sadly. "Maybe, but at least this time it'll be my regret, not yours." I closed the door gently, the click echoing louder than any argument we'd ever had. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. The end? Please like and subscribe for more interesting stories like this. What do you think? Was Sarah wrong for refusing to share her money, or was she finally standing up for herself? Please comment below.